Village tanks and ponds are ancient water management systems found all over the country, but more in southern and western India. They are part of the rural lives and livelihoods. The tanks and ponds were created to harvest, store, and regulate monsoon runoff. Seasonal rainfall in states like Tamil Nadu is erratic. Therefore, the ancient communities have created systems to capture rainfall and store it to use throughout the year. Tanks are formed by throwing an earthen bund against the slope so that water is stored on one side and used on the other side. The sluices deliver water by gravity. The weirs dispose of the floods safely. The supply channels carry water into the tanks from rivers or streams. Most tanks are interlinked and form cascades or chain of tanks. Depending on the geography, the tanks were constructed in varied sizes. Many are small, but a few are large. For example, a district like Shivaganga has a geographical area of 4,200 square kilometer but has around 4,966 tanks irrigating 77,000 hectares of wetlands. Most tanks here are small and serve a single village or smaller communities. On the contrary, Veeranam tank in Tamil Nadu, built in 10th century AD, is said to be the largest and irrigates around 19,000 hectares. In Tamil Nadu, there are 40,000 tanks irrigating over 0.5 million hectares. The vast majority of tanks irrigate around 20 hectares or less. Ponds are reservoirs dug out below the ground level. Some have beautifully constructed walls, and many are built inside or closer to the temples. Vast number of ponds are simple dugout ponds, found in almost every habitation. They are the places for bathing, washing, recreation, and many other uses for humans and animals. Most ceremonies, from birth to death, happen on tank bunds or closer to village ponds. The uses of water from tanks and ponds are many. They are the chief sources of water for agriculture and livestock. Paddy is the major crop in tank-fed lands. When the water is insufficient, farmers cultivate short-duration crops requiring less water. In the drought-prone region of the southern districts such as Shivagangai, Virudhunagar and Ramanathapuram, the groundwater is either saline or unfit for drinking. The ponds are the preferred source here for drinking and domestic uses. Domestic and agricultural wells are normally located closer to tanks and ponds to avail the groundwater recharge from them. Millions of wells get recharge from the tanks and ponds. The ponds serve domestic and many cultural uses. Many South Indian villages have temples, churches and masjids on the bunds of tanks and ponds. It is a custom that places of rituals and celebrations must have a pond or a tank. Cattle are usually taken out for grazing on the beds, bunds and channels, and hence these land spaces are the main sources of grazing and livestock economy. The silt that arrives into the tank along with the water is excellent organic manure, which is applied in the fields to enrich the soil. Potters source their raw materials from clay deposits in the tank bed. Also, earth from the tank is used for brick making, road laying and construction. Collective and individual fishing is done in many tanks at the end of the water season and villagers share the catch. Occasionally in a few tanks, the fishery is an occupation for certain communities. Firewood for cooking is availed by the villagers from the tank beds. In many tanks, trees are actively planted and grown to serve many uses, including shade and a cool microclimate. These traditional water systems have sustained the communities for centuries by offering many uses. Due to poor investments and the breakdown of communal management, many tanks and ponds become dysfunctional. This has resulted in a breakdown of agriculture, damaging the local environments and accelerating desertification. There are several problems affecting the tanks and ponds. Dilapidated and weak bunds lead to a breach of tanks. Accumulation of silt in supply channels affects the inflow of water. Sedimentation in tank beds reduces the storage of tanks. Choked or leaky sluices leads to wastage of water. Damaged weirs reduce the storage in tanks. The infestation of weeds and shrubs like Prosopis juliflora and Ipomia conea in the tank beds reduce its storage and choke the supply channels. Poor maintenance of tanks often leads to a breach of bunds, waste of water, and poor performance. Encroachments in tank bed reduce the storage, whereas encroachments in supply channels reduce the inflow of water. Indiscriminate dumping of garbage, discharge of sewage, and excretion spoil the tank water and lead to disease and foul smell. The decline is huge in states like Tamil Nadu that has lost nearly half of the tank irrigated areas in the last 40 years. Restoring tanks and ponds, though looks simple, is the major solution for problems faced by the water-starved regions today. For example, the 15th Sustainable Development Goal adopted by all the nations call for protection, restoration, and promotion of sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems and combat desertification. To realize this goal, all tanks and ponds have to be protected, conserved, and developed. This is highly relevant for southern India, where there are no perennial rivers but reliable monsoons and can be used. The tanks are surviving wonders of man-made ecosystems that served hundreds of years and still have the potential to serve for the years to come. The average age of a tank or a pond may be 800 years or more. There is no reason that they are allowed to decay. Therefore, any intervention to develop them is critical to sustainable development. Worldwide, climate change results in sudden and heavy downpours of rainfall and long dry spells, causing damages to the lives and livelihoods of people. Tank systems address the impacts of climate change in a meaningful way. With augmented storage, the tanks and ponds effectively mitigate the impacts of climate change by capturing such rainfall and use it for a long time. Being an earthen structure, the tanks and ponds require periodical repair and upkeep. PRADAN, a pan-India development organization, grooms and deploys professionals trained in engineering, agriculture, social sciences from reputed institutions in India to work in various land, water, forestry and agriculture programs. In Tamil Nadu, PRADAN began its tank program in the early 90s and renovated hundreds of tanks and ponds in the drought-prone southern districts. Building on its past work and professional experience, PRADAN has launched a project to conserve and develop tanks and ponds to enhance food and environmental security in drought-prone areas of Tamil Nadu, including the districts of Madurai, Virudhunagar, Ramanathpuram and Shivagangai. Interglobe Aviation, Indigo, supports PRADAN for this project. The primacy of this project is to organize the farmers into associations around the tanks or ponds and make them responsible for planning and executing conservation and development works in their tanks and ponds. The professionals trained and deputed from PRADAN will extend needed technical and managerial assistance to carry out their plan of action. The farmers will contribute to the work through their contribution in cash, kind and materials. Together with the PRADAN team, the farmers will undertake tank conservation activities prioritized by them. The project undertakes renovation of tank structures by strengthening tank bunds, deepening the tank bed, repair or reconstruction of sluices and weirs, replacing leaky sluice gates and shutters, desilting of tank bed, and use in the agriculture fields to enrich the soil. Promote tree planting along the bunds and in the foreshores, encourage farmers to take up fishery in tank water. Training the farmers and villagers in water-saving agricultural practices and keeping the immediate environment safe and clean. Kilanjanai is a little hamlet in Shivaganga district occupied by 60 households belonging to Christian and Hindu faith. The village has a small irrigation tank. The bund is around 1.5 km long and irrigation is done through 2 sluices. Around 15 hectares of paddy is cultivated when the monsoon rains are good. When they are excellent, they may irrigate an additional area of 32 hectares of chilies, cotton and millet crops. Overall, around 45 households have lands benefited from the tank. The village has no dependable source of water for drinking and domestic uses, and the only well is located on the tank bund. The well gets recharged as long as there is water in the tank. PRADAN professionals suggested excavating a pond measuring around 1 acre with a depth of 2 meters. When completed, an additional 14,000 cubic meters of water will be available. The community well will become usable for the whole year. The project is sponsored by Indigo Aviation. When completed, the project will offer additional storage of 14,000 cubic meters of water that will help the farmers to harvest a successful crop. All the 60 households get water within their village limits for their men and animals to drink and wash. Around 2,500 sheep, goats and cows to drink water in the pond. Increasing water availability, raising the productivity, reusing the silt as manure, and improved crop production techniques will go a long way in safeguarding these environmental assets.